Good evening, everyone. So, just confirm me once that my voice is audible and the presentation is visible to you so that we can start the session. My voice is audible and the presentation is visible. Yes. Okay for everyone. My voice is okay and the presentation is visible. So, hopefully, our yesterday session was useful for you and आप लोगों ने revise किया होगा. You had done the revision of all the things which we had discussed in our yesterday session. Okay. So for your reference, I am just going to recap our yesterday session. So we had started our discussion from the deficiencies in the GST. We had discussed about the cascading effect. We had discussed that in case of intra-state and inter-state का adjustment नहीं होता था. And also there were certain issues regarding the weight credit and the service tax credit. If someone is going to provide the goods and if he has the input tax credit on account of services, in that case that person was not able to adjust the same, hence there was requirement of GST. उसके बाद में then after we had started our discussion of the framework of GST. सर की पॉइंट्स मैं आपके साथ में शेयर कर रहा हूँ. So this is my humble request to you. You just need to note down these keywords because at the time of examination these keywords plays a very important role to recap the syllabus. Okay. Course complete सबका हो जाता है. There is issue with the revision. You should revise the course minimum 3 to 4 times to clear the exam. Also I will share with you multiple techniques to clear the exams. The strategy we will discuss. Okay. So after that we had started our discussion on the framework of GST. We had discussed that GST is a dual framework. Okay, dual GST framework. CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST is there. There is GST and common portal is available. GST ASP concept is also there. There is seamless flow of credit. Then after we had started our discussion on the benefits of GST. उसमें हमने बोला था this is a one nation one tax. Okay, this is a one nation one tax. This boosts the Make in India initiative. Also this boosts the investment export. Okay, ease of doing business, compliances यहाँ पर कम हुई है, seamless flow of credit है यहाँ पर. Okay, all these are the benefits from the GST. After that we had started our discussion on the constitutional background of GST. आपको याद रहेगा for introducing the GST law, government has introduced one new article, that is article number 246A in the Constitution of India, and with the effect of that article is going to empower parliament as well as the central government regarding making the law for the GST. Okay. Also, there is five petroleum product is available: natural gas, petroleum, high speed, motor speed. All these five petroleum product, GST will be applicable on a future date notified or recommended by the GST Council. After that, we had started our discussion we had done our discussion on the working of GST Council, meetings of GST Council. 75% majority is required for taking any type of decision. There is requirement of 75% majority, 33.33 from union and 66.67% is from the state government. Also, we have discussed that GST Council is going to resolve the disputes between the center, state, all that. Okay, and GST Council will decide the future date on which GST will be applicable on five petroleum products, and GST Council will going to distribute the revenue between the center and state. And after that, we had started our discussion on the concept of supply, that is point of taxation. Whenever there is a supply, GST will be applicable. And for the charging section, for the trigger point, supply include sale, exchange, barter, license, lease, rental in the course or furtherance of business for a consideration. But agar import of service hai, in that case, in the course or furtherance of business bhi nahi hai, but for a consideration hai, we can say that this activity or transaction should be considered as your supply. After that, all the activities transaction which is mentioned in the schedule 1 of CGST Act is to be considered as your supply, whether there is a consideration or no consideration. And schedule 2 talks about your activities or transactions should be considered as supply of goods or supply of services. And schedule 3, all those activities or transactions which is mentioned in schedule 3 is to be considered as neither supply of goods and nor supply of services. And after that, we had discussed about the schedule 1, that is all the activities or transactions which is mentioned in the schedule 1, there is no requirement of consideration. We need to consider the same as a supply. And the first transaction was your transfer of business or disposal of business assets, but two exceptions are there. As a going concern agar kiya hai, then no GST. And another is agar koi independent, if that industry is going to sold out the independent part of that particular industry, in that case there is no GST. Second point was related and distinct person, Rajasthan se Gujarat, if I am going to sell the goods, transfer the goods, then after principal and agent. And fourth point was import of services from a sister concern. And after that, we had started our discussion on schedule number 2. In that case, the basic concept was that whenever there is a transfer of title and goods, in that case we can say that this is a supply of goods. And whenever there is a transfer of right, in that case we can say that this is a supply of services. And after that, we had discussed on the operating lease, financial lease, and hire purchase. Operating lease is for shorter period of time. Financial lease is for complete whole life, economic life. And hire purchase is similar to financial lease, but in case of hire purchase, there is no 100% finance. After that, we had started our discussion on the concept of treatment or process. If we are going to send any material for treatment of process, and the person who is going to providing the services of the treatment or process, this should be considered as your supply of services. Sir, everything is okay for you? This is the recap of our yesterday session. Just comment me in the chat box that everything is okay, so that we can start the discussion from the next point. Everything is okay? Just comment in the chat box. Now, transfer of business assets. If any industry is going to transfer the particular business assets, in that case the question is that that transfer is to be treated as transfer of the supply of goods or supply of services. In that case, if there is a title transfer, in that case we can say that this is a supply of goods. And if there is a right to use transfer, in that case we can say that this is a supply of services. Now in this case, where goods forming part of the assets of a business, that means if any business assets we are going to transfer, in that case we can say that this is a supply of goods. Suppose in that particular industry, if there is any machinery is available, and if you are going to sell out that machinery, in that case we are going to say that this is a transfer of supply of goods, this is not a transfer of supply of services. Next, suppose there is any business assets available in the business, and if that particular business owner is going to give that particular assets to someone of the employee of that company for the personal use, and if that owner is going to take that particular business assets for their personal use, for their private use, in that case that owner is not going to transfer the title in that particular assets to that particular person. In that case the owner is just going to transfer the right to use. Okay, in that case, suppose I have a business and I have a car, and if I am going to give my car to my manager, okay, to use that particular car, in that case I am just going to give that right to use that particular car. Hence the same should be considered as your supply of services, not as the supply of goods. Next, where any person ceases to be a taxable person, any goods forming part of the assets of any business carried on by him shall be deemed to be supplied by him in the course or furtherance of business immediately before he ceases to be a taxable person. If someone is going to transfer the complete business, okay, वो ये बोल रहा है कि मैं अब taxable person नहीं रहूंगा, I am going to sell my business. In that case, we can say there is a transfer of assets, and the same should be considered as your supply of goods, not as a supply of services. That is what is the concept of supply of goods. Okay, so conclusively we can say whenever there is a title transfer, we can say this is a supply of goods, and whenever there is a transfer of right to use, that will be treated as your supply of services. And now there are certain examples for supply of services. Suppose Mr. X is going to give his building on rent to Mr. YZ. In that case, the X is going to provide the renting services. In that case, X is just going to transfer the right to use that particular building for a specified period, so that we can say this is a supply of services. Okay. Basically, उसके nature से हमको पता चल रहा है there is no requirement for more emphasis. Now, next point, if someone is going to provide the construction services, नाम ही क्या है, नाम के साथ ही क्या अटैच है, services. Suppose I am a builder, okay, I am a builder and I am going to provide the construction services to Mr. Ram. मैं उसको बोल रहा हूँ कि I am going to construct one building for you. Okay, in that case material is also mine and the labor part is also mine. That means I am going to provide the construction services to Mr. X. So in that case the services should be treated as your supply of services. That means all the work which is done under the head of construction, the same should be considered as your supply of services, not as a supply of goods. अब आप बोलोगे सर इन केस ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन there is a supply of goods also, because material is also supplied by that particular builder and service is also there. Okay, labor part is also there. So in that case goods and services also. तो इसको हम लोग क्यों ना कंपोजिट सप्लाई के, सर व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय दैट कंपोजिट सप्लाई? whenever there is a mixture of two supplies, one is principal supply and another is your ancillary supply, in that case we can say that particular supply is a composite supply. So but in case of construction there is a specific notification that in case of construction services, although there is a goods part involved, but the same should be considered as your supply of services, because the principal part is your services. Okay, my purpose is to provide that services. मेरा उस बिल्डिंग का कोई हिस्सा नहीं हो जाएगा. If I am going to construct a building for Mr. Ram, in that case there is no any share in that particular building of mine. So we can say there is no transfer of goods. This is just a supply of services. So sir, concept is clear. In case of renting, the same should be considered as your supply of services, and in case of construction, although the goods part is involved in that, but the same should be considered as your supply of services. Now, whenever there is a temporary transfer of permitting use for enjoyment of any intellectual property right, IPR. Intellectual property right means trademark, copyright, patent. If someone is going to provide the copyright, trademark, patent, suppose the Batuk logo has a trademark, okay, and if I am going to transfer the trademark to Mr. X for use for 5 to 10 years, in that case I am just going to transfer the right to use that particular title. Okay, right to use that particular trademark or copyright. In that case the same should be considered as your supply of services, not as your supply of goods. If I am going to transfer the development, design, programming, customization, adoption right, okay, in that case we can say that this is a supply of services. If I am an interior designer and if I am going to supply my services for designing and bedroom, in that case I am just going to provide the supply of services. Okay, now अगर मुझे कुछ काम करना था एंड इन दैट केस आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डू दैट वर्क, सपोज आई एम एम्प्लॉय ऑफ आईसीआईसीआई बैंक लिमिटेड, ओके, और वहां पर एक रूल होता है, हर इंडस्ट्री के अंदर एक रूल है, हर कॉर्पोरेट के अंदर ये रूल है कि इफ यू आर गोइंग टू leave that particular industry, in that case you need to serve the notice period. Okay, and if someone is going not going to serve that notice period, because suppose the notice period is 3 months and he is not going to serve that notice period, in that case that person has to pay certain amount to that particular industry. जब वो अमाउंट वहां पर पे कर रहा है फॉर नॉट डूइंग अ स्पेसिफिक वर्क, इन दैट केस द सेम शुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज योर सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज. जब भी क्वेश्चन आ जाए कि नोटिस पीरियड के लिए अगर कोई अमाउंट पे किया गया है, इफ देयर इज एनी पेमेंट ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ द नोटिस पीरियड, इन दैट केस वी कैन से दैट द सेम शुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज योर सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज, नॉट एज अ सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स. Whenever there is a transfer of right, you just need to analyze the situation. Whenever you are going to analyze the situation, you found that in that particular case there is a transfer of right, you should say this is a supply of service. Okay, composite supply we had already covered, that works contract, and as per section 8 of CGST Act, the composite and mixed supply we are going to discuss after 10 to 15 minutes. So that is what is the basic concept of your schedule 2. So just comment in the chat box that schedule 1 and schedule 2 is okay for you. Schedule 1 was related to all the activities or transactions which is mentioned in the schedule 1. Whether there is a consideration or no consideration, the same should be considered as your supply. And schedule 2 talks about the supply of goods or supply of services. Okay. Now we are going to start our discussion on schedule number 3. All those activities or transactions which is mentioned in that particular schedule number 3, those transactions are not considered as supply of goods or supply of services. That means there is no GST will be applicable on these specified activities or transactions which is mentioned in that schedule number 3. Now what is the activities or transactions mentioned in that schedule number 3? Let's start our discussion. First, if any employer is going to provide any services, that is if any employee is going to provide the services to the employer, in that case the same should not be considered as your supply. Hence हम लोग बोलते हैं सैलरी पे जीएसटी एप्लीकेबल नहीं होता है. Why there is no applicability of GST on salary? The basic reason is that that particular activity or transaction is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Also, if an employer is going to provide any gift to the employee, in that case the gift is allowed for 50,000 rupees. Okay, 50,000 रुपए तक का अगर गिफ्ट कोई एम्प्लॉय को देता है, in that case there is no GST. But the gift amount exceeds by 50,000 rupees, in that case on that excess amount GST will be charged. Okay, now any services provided by the tribunal court, चाहे वो high court हो, supreme court हो, district court हो, all those services performed by the courts are not taxable. That means not considered as your supply, because the same is mentioned in your schedule number 3. Any services or function performed by a member of parliament, member of state, member of panchayat, member of municipality, or any person who is holding the post in the constitution of India, the services provided by that person is also not considered as supply of goods or supply of services. That means conclusively we can say employer-employee relationship, no GST. Any services provided by the tribunal, no GST. Any services provided by the High Court, Supreme Court, member of Panchayat, municipality, no GST. Any services provided by that particular person who is holding the post in the Constitution of India, no GST, and GST will not be applicable on the services of funeral and related services. There is no GST will be applicable. Also, one more important part is there: GST will not be included on land. Whenever someone is going to sell the land, in that case there is no GST will be applicable. Sir, suppose there is a building. So building क्यों है? Due to land. In that case, how we are going to segregate the same? For that purpose, there is a specification. If there is any agreement available रिगार्डिंग द वैल्यू ऑफ लैंड, इन दैट केस हम उस वैल्यू को वहां से लेस कर देंगे और उस लैंड की वैल्यू पे देयर इज नो जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. बट इफ देयर इज नो एनी एग्रीमेंट अवेलेबल और देयर इज नो एनी स्पेसिफिकेशन अवेलेबल रिगार्डिंग द वैल्यू ऑफ लैंड, in that case, in case of the land and building supply, we are going to take one third of the total value as the value of land. That means on that one third part GST will not be applicable. So if institute is going to ask the situation, give you the case study and ask the situation, in that case, if there is any specific thing is mentioned in the question paper, in that case, you need to consider that. If there is no specific mention in the question paper, in that case, one third part of that particular value is to be considered as your value of land and two third part will be considered as your value of building, and GST will be applicable on the part of building. No GST will be applicable on the part of the value of land. Now, actionable claim other than lottery, betting and gambling, all the actionable claims are not considered as supply of goods nor as a supply of services. अगर what do you mean by that actionable claim? That means अब अगर फ्यूचर में कुछ हुआ, आई एम गोइंग टू पे दैट पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट. कल मेरे पास एक क्वेश्चन आया था, सर प्लीज एक्सप्लेन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स. इन दैट फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स सपोज वो एफ एंड ओ कमोडिटी पे भी हो सकता है एंड एफ एंड ओ सिक्योरिटीज पे भी हो सकता है. इन दैट केस, in future we are going to give an idea that this particular product I am going to buy at this rate. Okay, in that case, if in future we are going to settle the position, suppose मैंने ये बोला कि मैं इस इंडस्ट्री का शेयर जो है फ्यूचर में 200 रुपए में बाय करूंगा. If I am going to bought that particular share for 200 rupees in future, in that case GST will be applicable. But if I am saying that in future I am going to buy that particular share at 200 rupees and in future I am not going to get that particular share, we are just going to adjust. In that case, the same should be considered in the definition of securities. Hence, no GST will be applicable because there is no GST will be applicable on money and securities. ओके, सो फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के अंदर अगर फ्यूचर में जाकर के मैं कुछ बाय कर रहा हूं, इन दैट केस जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. बट फ्यूचर में केवल मैं एडजस्टमेंट कर रहा हूं, आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू एडजस्ट द थिंग्स, इन दैट केस नो जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. बट इफ देयर इज एनी सर्विस चार्जेस एप्लीकेबल ऑन दैट एफ एंड ओ, इन दैट केस जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल ऑन दोस सर्विस चार्जेस. बट ऑन actionable claim, F&O is also considered as an actionable claim and the same is not considered as your supply of goods nor supply of services. Next example, suppose I am in Germany and from Germany I am going to sell. I am in India. Okay, I am going to take that example because complex है situation, so I am going to take that example. Mr. X is in India. Okay, Mr. Sachin is in Germany. Mr. Mukesh is in UK. Suppose X क्या करता है, कोई गुड्स जर्मनी से बाय करता है एंड जर्मनी से वो गुड्स सीधा यूके में बेचता है. एक्स इज इन इंडिया, एक्स इज गोइंग टू बॉट दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट फ्रॉम जर्मनी एंड ही इज गोइंग टू ट्रांसफर दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट, सेल दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट इन यूके. इन दैट केस द गुड्स is not going to come in India. In that case, there is no GST will be applicable. This transaction will be considered as neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Sir, this concept is okay. इसको हम लोग हाई सी सेल्स भी बोलते हैं. इस कॉन्सेप्ट को हाईसी सेल्स भी बोला जाता है. द पर्सन हु इज इन इंडिया इज गोइंग टू सेल दैट बॉट दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट फ्रॉम नॉन टैक्सेबल टेरिटरी एंड सेल दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट टू नॉन टैक्सेबल टेरिटरी विदाउट एंटरिंग इनटू द इंडियन टेरिटोरियल वाटर. इन दैट केस वी आर गोइंग टू से दैट दिस इज अ हाईसी सेल्स एंड द सेम शुड नॉट बी कंसीडर्ड एज नीदर सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स नॉर सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज. ओके, नाउ supply of warehouse goods to any person before clearance for home consumption. Sir, आउटसाइड इंडिया से अगर कोई गुड्स बाय करते हैं, इफ समवन इज गोइंग टू बॉट एनी पर्टिकुलर गुड्स फ्रॉम आउटसाइड इंडिया, इन दैट केस वी आर सेइंग that this is a import, this is a import of goods, okay, this is a import of goods. And in case of import of goods, वो कहां पर आएगा, वेयर हाउस में आएगा. कस्टम का जो वेयर हाउस होता है, द गुड्स इज फर्स्ट रिसीव टू द कस्टम वेयर हाउस. When the goods is received to that custom warehouse, and from that custom warehouse, if we are going to transfer that particular goods to another custom warehouse, or in that area if we are going to transfer, in that case there is no GST will be applicable. GST will only be applicable in case of transfer of that particular goods from that warehouse area to another area for domestic consumption. If you are going to transfer that particular प्रोडक्ट इन डोमेस्टिक मार्केट, इन दैट केस जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. अगर आप उस कस्टम टेरिटोरियल वाटर में, कस्टम बॉन्डेड वेयर हाउस में उस गुड्स को घुमा रहे हो, इन दैट केस नो जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. दैट इज व्हाट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ दिस. Pratik ji, we are going to discuss the independent director sitting fees and all that in our today's session itself. Okay, so just wait the concept of RCM. We are going to discuss on that also. So शेड्यूल 3 के अंदर हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया ऑल दोज एक्टिविटीज और ट्रांजेक्शन विच इज मेंशन्ड इन दैट शेड्यूल 3 is to be considered as neither supply of goods nor supply of services. First transaction is transaction between employer employee. Another is what services provided by tribunal, high court, supreme court, services provided by municipal corporation, panchayat samiti, and all that services provided by any person who is holding the post in the constitution of India. Services provided, services regarding the funeral and related services, okay, actionable claim related services, and high sea sales, and the movement of goods in the custom bonded warehouse itself, not for domestic use. In that case we can say that the same should be considered as neither supply of goods nor supply of services. So this is the complete concept of your supply section 7 of CGST Act and the schedule number 1, 2 and 3 of CGST Act. Everything is okay for you. Just comment me in the chat box so that we can start with the section number 8, that is composite and mixed supply. सर सेक्शन 7 ऑफ सीजीएसटी एक्ट इज ओके फॉर यू. सारे के सारे स्टूडेंट्स के लिए सेक्शन 7 इज ओके एंड द सीजीएसटी एक्ट के शेड्यूल नंबर 1.3 इज ओके. Okay, and one important information is there for you, that if someone is going to buy this book, this simplified GST guide for CA, CS, and CMA students, then there is one offer till today 10 p.m. अगर आप लोग 10 बजे तक order कर लेते हो, if you are going to order this book till 10 p.m., in that case you are going to get the recorded lectures of these 7 days crash course. With that you are going to get one colorful chart PDF file regarding your charts regarding complete GST law. You got one question module also, and one important things is there. We are going to schedule 5 tests, okay, in the next month for CA final students on indirect taxation. So you will get free access on those CA final mock test paper, or we can say the preparation papers. We are designed 5 test papers, so you will get the free access to 5 test papers, and those test papers are very much relevant for the May 2024 and November 2023 attempt. So if you are planning that, you can bought that particular book from that website. We had already shared the link. Okay, so now this is my request to you. If you want to learn, if you had not got any other material, in that case you can go with this material. I ensure you the about the quality of this material. Okay, each and everything is relevant to your syllabus, and if you are going to cover this book, in that case there is no requirement to cover anything, because we had covered everything from the study material in this book. Okay, so complete section number 8 of CGST Act, that is our composite supply and mixed supply. एक एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ दैट एग्जाम्पल sir, what do you mean by this composite supply and what do you mean by this mixed supply? In case of composite supply, in case of composite supply, there are two supply. Composite means mixture of two supplies. Okay, उन दो सप्लाई में वन इज योर प्रिंसिपल सप्लाई, दैट मींस एक सप्लाई आपकी हेड है, एंड अनदर सप्लाई इज योर एंसिलरी सप्लाई, दैट मींस अनदर सप्लाई इज योर सपोर्टिंग सप्लाई. If I am taking the example of mobile phone, whenever you are going to buy that particular mobile phone, in that case you are getting the charger, you are getting the charger with that mobile phone. Okay, you are getting the charger with that mobile phone. That means in that case, mobile phone and charger are the composite supply. Okay, दो products है, and one is your principal supply. That means your mobile is your principal supply and charger is your ancillary supply. You need to charge your mobile to start that particular mobile. Okay, so we can say this is a composite supply. Now, sir, what is the nature of this composite supply? In that case, composite supply, the principal supply and the ancillary supply should be naturally bundled. In case of mobile and charger, दोनों naturally bundled है. उनको हमने artificially bundled नहीं किया है. Okay, मोबाइल फोन के साथ चार्जर आएगा. So the first and the foremost condition is that the both the principal supply and the ancillary supply should be naturally bundled. Okay, so that is what is called as your composite supply. In case of mixed supply, there are also two supply, but the condition is that both the supply are not naturally bundled. वो दोनों supply यहाँ पर naturally bundled नहीं है. Suppose मैं ये बोलता हूँ फेस वॉश के बाद, फेस वॉश के साथ कंडीशनर फ्री, conditioner is free with that face wash, or I am going to say that I am going to sell that particular face wash and the conditioner for amount of 500 rupees. So these are not naturally bundled, इनको अलग अलग कंज्यूम किया जा सकता है. That type of supply should be considered as your mixed supply. जहां पर natural है, that is called as your composite supply, and the another supply is your mixed supply. Now question is that on account of that composite supply, what the rate of GST will be applicable? In case of your composite supply, the rate of your whatever will be the rate of your principal supply is to be applicable on that complete supply. Suppose on that mobile phone, the GST is applicable at the rate of 18%. In that case, on that charger, GST will also be applicable at the rate of 18%. That means in case of composite supply, GST will be applicable on the consolidated amount as per the principal supply rate. In case of mixed supply, the rate of GST will be the highest rate. Suppose on face wash there is a GST rate of 18%, on conditioner there is a GST rate of 28%. In that case, on that complete combo, which is for 500 rupees, GST will be applicable at the rate of 28%. That is what is the concept of composite supply and mixed supply. Now, question arises, how you are going to decide that the particular supply is a composite supply and particular supply is the your mixed supply. So in that case, you need to consider three facts. One is nature. Nature means naturally bundled है या फिर नहीं है. If the products are naturally bundled, in that case the same should be considered as your composite supply, and if the product are not naturally bundled, in that case the same should be considered as your mixed supply. Another, मार्केट ट्रेंड क्या है. यू नीड टू डिसाइड सर्टेन थिंग्स फ्रॉम मार्केट ट्रेंड. मार्केट क्या कर रहा है उसके रिलेटेड, एंड कंज्यूमर पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है उसको लेकर के. Consumer perspective is also going to play an important role. So there are three important things are there. Who is going to decide that the particular supply is your composite supply and the particular supply is your mixed supply. One is your nature, another is a market में trend क्या है, third one is your consumer perspective. Okay. Now we are going to read the same from the study material. Although we had covered everything from that composite and mixed supply. Now a composite supply is two or more supply. One is principal supply and another is your ancillary supply. In case of mixed supply, two or more supply are there. Supply that principal attracts the highest rate of tax. Composite supply are naturally bundled and supplied in conjunction with each other in the ordinary course of business. Principal supply is your predominant part, your mobile phone. Mixed supply, this is not composite supply. Two or more individual supply यहाँ पर लिंक कर दी गई है. Example is there in case of bus body building. In this work, supply of part of bus body and fitting thereof shall be included. Here, principal supply is your body parts and fitting is your ancillary part. Okay. Now, how you are going to decide that the particular supply is a composite supply or mixed supply? Naturally bundled hai. In case of your composite supply, separate price may be charged. मोबाइल फोन इंडिविजुअली अवेलेबल होता है, चार्जर भी मार्केट में इंडिविजुअली अवेलेबल होता है, सो सेपरेट प्राइस कैन बी चार्ज. बट इन केस ऑफ मिक्स सप्लाई, if you are going to do a mixed supply, that means fresh wash and conditioner, in that case you are going to charge one single price. Suppose you are going to provide that combo for 500 rupees, in that case you are just going to charge 500 rupees in that invoice. Okay, but if you are going to check the invoice of mobile phone is there also, plus करके charger is also there. So not naturally bundled and only single price is charged. How you are going to decide that this is a composite supply and naturally bundled? So perception of consumer, nature and majority of the markets में क्या trend चल रहा है, that will decide that this is a naturally bundled or not and this is a composite supply or mixed supply. कई बार institute ये वाला question raise करती है, so you need to be very much careful for that. There are certain examples are available, although I had tried to cover certain examples of your mobile phone, of your computer mobile phone. All these things are covered. Okay. So certain examples are there. I am not going to discuss on that mobile phone, that examples. Okay. So everything is okay for you. Just comment in the chat box that the composite supply and the mixed supply part is okay for everyone. आप लोग कमेंट करो. जस्ट वन इंपॉर्टेंट कॉल इज देयर. Just wait for 1 minute. I will back in 1 minute. Okay. So we had done our first chapter, that is basic concept. Second chapter was related to our supply. Now we are going to start our discussion on the charging section, charge of GST, how we are going to impose GST, how the GST is going to function. So we are going to discuss on that. Okay. So कोई भी टैक्स हो, each and every tax उसको लगाने के लिए यहाँ पर चार्ज होना जरूरी है. If I am going to do anything, in that case there is requirement that in my hand there is requirement of the charge. Okay, if I am going to hold a session, in that case there is requirement that in my hand there should be a charge. अगर मेरे हाथ में charge होगा, in that case I can do that work in a very efficient way. Okay, so for that purposes, for imposing that GST, for implementing the GST throughout the India, one charging section is there, that is section number 9 of CGST Act. Okay, अभी हमने केवल एक section पढ़ी है, section number 7 of CGST Act, that is supply, include, sale, exchange, barter वाली. Okay, now we are going to start our discussion on second number section, that is your charging section, section number 9 of CGST Act, levy and collection of CGST. Okay, so in that case, section number 9 subsection say 1 says that GST will be applicable on all type of supplies. And supply कैसे decide होगी? We had already done. Okay, अब हम लोग बात करेंगे किस supply पे GST लगेगा. The GST will be applicable on which supply and what are the supplies on which GST will not be applicable. We are going to decide the things. Okay, so for that purposes, section 9 subsection 1 of CGST Act says that GST will be applicable on all type of supplies except your supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. That means no GST will be applicable on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Okay, and the maximum rate of GST will be not exceeding 20%, and GST will be charged on the value decided by सेक्शन नंबर 15. सो पहले हमने किसी ट्रांजेक्शन एक्टिविटी को सप्लाई डिसाइड किया. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू डिसाइड दैट ऑन ऑल टाइप ऑफ सप्लाईज जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल except the alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now question arises, when we need to impose the GST on all type of supply, then what will be the value? So value we are going to decide at the rate of in our discussion as per section 15 of CGST Act. Then what will be the rate? So maximum rate is 20%. Okay, 1% rate is there, 5% rate is there, 12% rate is there, 18% rate is there, 28% rate is there. Now section 9 subsection 2 talks about that on the 5 petroleum product, your petroleum crude, high speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and terminal fuel, GST will be applicable on a future date. Okay, all supplies पे GST will be applicable except alcoholic liquor for human consumption. But on these 5 petroleum products, GST will be applicable on a future date recommended by the GST Council. Now, section 9 subsection 3 and section 9 subsection 4 and section 9 subsection 5 पे डिस्कशन करने से पहले I just want to share one example. जैसा कि हमने बोला, in case of GST is a goods and services tax. Okay, in that case GST will be applicable on supply. Supply means sale. That means GST will always be paid by the supplier. Okay, क्या कभी ऐसा हो सकता है कि recipient is going to pay the tax? हो सकता है? Yes, recipient is also liable for paying the tax in certain situations. Whenever supplier is going to pay the tax, in that case हम लोग बोलेंगे कि this supplier is going to pay the tax under forward charge. And in certain cases, in certain situations, recipient also has to pay the tax. Recipient means who is going to receive the goods. That means buyer has to pay the taxes. In that case, the mechanism is called as your reverse charge. That means we can say for paying the taxation, there is two mechanisms available under the GST regime. One is your forward charge, another is your reverse charge. In case of forward charge, supplier is liable to pay the taxes. In case of reverse charge, recipient is liable to pay the taxes. That is what is the concept of reverse charge and forward charge. Okay, now सेक्शन नंबर 9 सबसेक्शन 3 ऑफ सीजीएसटी एक्ट बोलता है, सेक्शन नंबर 9 सबसेक्शन 3 ऑफ सीजीएसटी एक्ट सेज दैट all those transactions or services, all those supply of goods or services which is mentioned in that section number 9 subsection 3, GST will be paid by the recipient. That means GST will be paid under the concept, under the mechanism of reverse charge mechanism. इसीलिए हम लोग उसको शॉर्ट में बोलते हैं RCM. Okay, that means As per section 9 subsection 3, there is one exclusive list is provided for the goods and services, and all those type of goods and services GST will be applicable under reverse charge. That means recipient has to pay the taxes. Section 9 subsection 4 is not in Section 9 subsection 4 is not in force now. Okay, this is not applicable currently. This was applicable till 30th October 2017. 13 अक्टूबर 2017 तक ये वाली सेक्शन एप्लीकेबल थी. In that case, on certain type of expenditure, you need to pay the reverse charge mechanism. But currently, this section is not applicable, so there is no requirement to understand this concept. Now, section number 9 subsection 5 is specifically applicable for the e-commerce operatives. Okay, section number 9 subsection 5 is especially applicable for e-commerce operator. The government may, on the recommendation of council by notification, specify categories of service tax on intra-state supply on which the tax is to be paid by the e-commerce operator if such services are supplied through it, and all the provisions of this act shall apply on the electronic commerce operator. सर नहीं समझ आया, वी आर नॉट गेटिंग द कॉन्सेप्ट, सो आई एम गोइंग टू टेक वन एग्जांपल. पहले तो हमको बेसिक ये पता होना चाहिए व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर. अभी जो भी लाइव है, देयर इज 20 स्टूडेंट्स आर लाइव इन दिस सेशन. आई जस्ट ask you one question. This is your first time you are joining this GST session, or you had already done the regular batch? I just want your comment in the chat box so that I got that idea that मुझे कुछ basic terms भी लेनी है या फिर basic terms are okay for you. So just comment me, आपने पहले कोई regular course किया है या फिर this is a first time crash course for you. Because we have a very limited amount of time and we need to cover the syllabus in this limited amount of time. Okay, कुछ लोगों के रिप्लाई आए हैं मेरे पास में, 4 से 5 लोगों के. बाकी लोग they are not going to provide me the reply in the chat box, so I am requesting to everyone that please provide the reply so that now e-commerce operators means Flipkart, Amazon, Meesho. These are the e-commerce platforms. Okay, where someone is going to sell the product in on these online platforms. Okay, suppose now in that e-commerce operator platform, that is your Amazon, Flipkart, and all that. Suppose Sachin is in Rajasthan and I have certain products. Suppose I have certain textile products. I have certain textile products and I want to sell the same through the e-commerce operator platform. Through the e-commerce operator platform, and buyers are buying the things from the e-commerce operator platform. So for that purposes, there is RCM is applicable. Although Sachin is going to sell the products, okay, products are mine and I am going to sell the same through that e-commerce operator platform. But as per section 9 subsection 5, in that case, if Sachin is going to make any intrastate supply, you all know very well the definition of intrastate supply. आपको रट गया होगा intrastate and interstate. So if Sachin is going to make any supply intrastate through that e-commerce operator platform, in that case, that e-commerce operator platform is liable to make the payment of taxes. That means supply is by Sachin. Sachin is just going to use the e-commerce operator platform. In that case, Sachin is supplier. So Sachin has to pay the tax. But as per section 9, subsection 5, e-commerce operator has to pay the taxes. Sachin is not going to make the payment of taxes. In that case, where supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes, in that case we can say that there is a mechanism applicable is your reverse charge. So in that case, e-commerce operator platform has to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Sachin is not liable to make the payment of taxes for intra-state supply. नाउ क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, अगर उस स्टेट के अंदर वो ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर प्लेटफॉर्म का कोई रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस ही नहीं हो, इन दैट केस ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर हैज टू अपॉइंट सर्टेन पर्सन. ओके, ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर पर्सन वहां पर अपॉइंट करना पड़ेगा हु इज गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ सच. ओके, सो दैट इज व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर. ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर इज लायबल टू पे द टैक्सेस. ओके, नाउ classification of goods, there are classification as a goods का classification on the basis of HSN code, services का classification on the basis of service accounting code. Now आप लोगों ने वर्ड सुना होगा, जो फर्स्ट टाइम कर रहे हैं उनके लिए भी, एंड ऑल दोज हु आर ऑलरेडी डन द रेगुलर बैच, the information is there that circulars, what is the difference between circular and notifications. कई बार हम लोग सोचते हैं आज गवर्नमेंट ने नोटिफिकेशन इश्यू किया है, गवर्नमेंट हैज इशूड वन नोटिफिकेशन, और कई बार ऐसा सुनते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट हैज इशूड द सर्कुलर. देन व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दिस सर्कुलर एंड नोटिफिकेशन? सो द बेसिक डिफरेंस, notification is binding, notification is a limitation for us, उसको हमको फॉलो करना है, we have to follow that notification, but circular is just explanatory in nature. किसी लॉ के रूल्स से रिगार्डिंग एक्सप्लेनेशन जब आती है, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज योर सर्कुलर, एंड नोटिफिकेशन इज बाइंडिंग ऑन अस. ओके, सो नाउ हम लोग हमारे रेगुलर सेशन में थोड़ी बहुत हंसी मजाक करते हैं, एंटरटेनमेंट करते हैं. There is in this session, in this crash course, there is no possibility of any joke and all that, because the problem is that time is very limited and content is very wide. So please bear with me. Okay, now question arises that what is the difference between exempted supply and non GST supply? Sir, मैं पहले सप्लाई क्लियर कर दूं क्या? यहाँ ये स्पेस दिया ही नोट्स के लिए ये. सो सप्लाई में टैक्सेबल हो सकती है. टैक्सेबल मींस जहां पर टैक्स लगेगा. अनदर सप्लाई इज योर एग्जेम्प्टेड सप्लाई, योर नॉन जीएसटी सप्लाई. ओके, these types of supply are there. So in case of your, and one more supply is there, zero rated supply. Okay, one is your taxable, another is your exempted, another is your non GST supply, another is your zero rated supply. Taxable supply, GST will be applicable on that supply. Now question arises, what is the difference between this exempted supply and what is the difference between this zero rated supply? Non-taxable supply, we'll discuss that. Okay, just the difference between the exempted supply and the difference between the zero rated supply. In that case, exempted supply attracts nil rate of tax and completely exempted. Okay, and in case of zero rated supply, zero means the tax rate is zero. Exempted supply के केस में tax rate है ही नहीं, there is no tax rate available. But in case of zero rated supply, there is a tax rate of 0%. Okay, so what do you mean by ITC? We had already covered. ITC means input tax credit. When someone is going to buy any particular product, if there is any GST, in that case, he or she can claim the input of that amount. So in that case, in case of exempted supply, you are not going to pay any type of taxes to the government because there is no GST applicable. So in that case, you are not eligible to claim the input tax credit. Suppose for making the supply of that particular exempted good, if you have bought certain product and GST was applicable on those products, in that case, you are not eligible to take the input tax credit on that buy. But in case of zero rated supply, there is a rate of tax which is zero. So there is a rate of tax is available, so you can easily claim the input tax credit in case of zero rated supply. इसीलिए to promote the export, government ने बोला all type of exports are considered as your zero rated. That means जब भी कोई बंदा कोई goods outside India भेजेगा, if someone is going to sell any particular product outside India, in that case the same should be considered as your export, and on export there is a zero rate of tax. That means no tax. But for sending that particular product. If we bought certain products from the domestic market and GST was levied on those particular products, in that case that exporter is eligible to claim the input tax credit because the same is covered under your zero rates. Sir, the difference is clear for your for you exempted and zero rated supply, because most important, multiple time the institute is asking the questions on this base. So confirm me once that the difference between exempted and the zero rated supply is okay. मैं आपसे चैट बॉक्स में लिखवाता भी इसलिए हूं ताकि ये रहे कि आप लोग जाग रहे हो. देखो आप लोग जितना जल्दी जल्दी कमेंट करोगे ना, उतना जल्दी जल्दी अपना सिलेबस कंप्लीट होगा और अपन मोर थिंग्स जो है कवर कर पाएंगे. ना, अभी हमने बोला reverse charge mechanism. Okay, when the recipient is going to make the taxes, that concept has to be considered as your reverse charge mechanism. So in that case, there are certain journal provisions are available regarding that reverse charge mechanism. In that reverse charge mechanism, if someone is going to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism, in that case the same should not be considered as your aggregator. Now sir, समझ नहीं आया? Suppose I am not going to make any supply. I had bought certain particular product which is mentioned under section 9 subsection 3. हमने भी डिस्कस किया था section 9 subsection 3 में एक लिस्ट है goods or services की, and if any buyer is going to bought the product or services of that list, in that case the GST will be paid by that particular recipient. So अगर मैंने कोई वो गुड्स बाय किए हैं which is mentioned in that section number 9 subsection 3, in that case I have to pay the taxes, but मैंने उसका सप्लाई नहीं किया, मैं उसका recipient हूं. So all the taxes which is paid under the reverse charge mechanism is not included in your aggregate turnover. Also that जो भी RCM के अंदर जो भी taxes का पेमेंट करने वाले हो, that will not added in your output tax. Sir, what is the difference between, what do you mean by this output tax and what do you mean by this input tax? इन केस ऑफ ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर इंटर स्टेट के बारे में हम लोग कंप्लीट जो है कॉन्सेप्ट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस, देयर इज नो इश्यू विद दैट. अभी हम लोग केवल इंटर स्टेट के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं. सो हम लोग वन बाय स्टेप थिंग्स को करेंगे ताकि आप लोगों के लिए कोई भी बर्डन नहीं आए. ओके, सो विल डिस्कस ऑन दैट, देयर इज नो इश्यू विद दैट. सो कहां था? आउटपुट टैक्स. Two type of tax are there. One is output tax, another is input tax. When supplier is going to supply anything, in that case supplier is going to charge output tax, because in that case at the time of sale, exchange, barter, supplier is going to make the supply, hence in that case supplier has to make the payment of taxes, hence that tax is to be called as output tax. And input tax is applicable in case of buying. When buyer is going to buy a certain product or goods or services, and if there is any GST charged by that supplier, in that case there is input of tax, hence the tax is to be called as your input tax. Okay, I will share you each and everything with logic so that it will be very much useful for you and you can memorize the things. So the concept of input tax and output tax is okay. Now if anyone is liable for reverse charge mechanism, then in that case turnover limit is not applicable. Okay, suppose अगर मैं section 9 subsection 3 की कोई goods और services buy कर रहा हूँ and my turnover is below the specified limit, but if I am going to bought that particular product which is covered under section 9 subsection 3, in that case I have to take the registration. मुझे वहां पर GST का registration लेना पड़ेगा. Or in case of reverse charge mechanism is if I am going to make the payment of taxes as a recipient, in that case I need to make the payment of taxes in cash only. Okay, and जो भी अमाउंट मैं कैश में पे करूंगा, I can claim the credit for that amount. ओके, जो भी अमाउंट मैं कैश में पे करूंगा, आई कैन claim the credit for that also. Okay, I will share certain examples with you in the WhatsApp group because टाइम थोड़ा सा कंस्टेंट है. रेगुलर बैच में तो हम लोग हर चीज का एग्जांपल लेते हैं. वी आर गोइंग टू टेक द एग्जांपल एंड वी आर गोइंग टू टेक द प्रैक्टिकल सिनेरियो, बट इन क्रैश कोर्स दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर मी, बट verbally I am going to share the example. Okay, now हमने बोला द सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 3 ऑफ CGST एक्ट टॉक्स अबाउट the list of goods and list of services on which reverse charge will be applicable. That means in that case, recipient has to pay the taxes. Now, sir, what is the list? What is the goods and services which is covered under that particular section 9 subsection 3? So, first we are going to cover the list of goods. That means all these type of goods. If supplier is going to supply and buyer is going to buy these type of goods, in that case, buyer has to make the payment of taxes. Supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes in this type of goods. Okay. Now, first is your cashew nuts. If any supplier is going to supply the kaju, okay, in that case, recipient has to make the payment of taxes. Sir, what is the logic behind this? So logic is that काजू कौन बेचेगा? एग्रीकल्चरलिस्ट. आप मैक्सिमम चीजें, इफ यू आर गोइंग टू एनालाइज, मैक्सिमम थिंग्स आर देयर वेयर सप्लायर इज अ एग्रीकल्चरलिस्ट और सप्लायर इज अ गवर्नमेंट. सो इन दैट केस supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes because of the ease of doing business. So in that case, recipient is going to make the payment of taxes under RCM. That means in case of cashew nuts, that is kaju, in that case, recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. In case of BD wrapper and tobacco leaves, in that case also the supplier is agriculturalist, hence the buyer is liable to make the payment of taxes. In case of your सिल्क यार्न जो सप्लाई करता है, जो उसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करता है, सप्लाई करता है, इन दैट केस दैट मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑफ सिल्क यार्न इज नॉट लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. द रिसिपिएंट पर्सन, द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू बाय दैट सिल्क यार्न इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. Lotteries issued by the state government, central government and local authority. In that case also, central government, state government, local authority is not liable to make the payment of taxes. The lottery distributor or the selling agent is liable to make the payment of taxes. Now, raw cotton is supplied by the agriculturalist. In that case also, agriculturalist is not liable to make the payment of taxes. The registered person is going to make the payment of taxes. अगर कोई यूज्ड व्हीकल है, सीज्ड व्हीकल्स है, कॉन्फिस्केटेड व्हीकल्स है, जो कि पुलिस वाले लेकर के चले जाते हैं, जो व्हीकल्स होते हैं उनको, सो इन दैट केस इफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, यूनियन टेरिटरी इज गोइंग टू मेक द सप्लाई ऑफ दिस टाइप ऑफ व्हीकल्स, इन दैट केस द रिसिपिएंट, द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. सप्लायर इज नॉट गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. एंड परचेज ऑफ प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लैंडिंग सर्टिफिकेट्स, in that case also registered person is liable to make the payment of taxes. The supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes. Sir, what do you mean by this प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लैंडिंग सर्टिफिकेट? सो प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लैंडिंग सर्टिफिकेट्स आरबीआई इशू करता है वेरियस बैंक्स को टू प्रोवाइड द लोन फैसिलिटी, द फाइनेंस फैसिलिटी, द फंड फैसिलिटी टू द प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर्स. ओके, इन दैट केस आल्सो द बैंक इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म. दैट आरबीआई इज नॉट लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. दैट इज व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ योर. So these are the goods on which reverse charge mechanism is liable and the recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Okay, now सर लिस्ट है और लिस्ट आपको याद रखनी पड़ेगी. लॉजिक मैंने दे दिया, कैश्यू नट्स है, बीडी रैपर्स है, सिल्क यार्न है, लॉटरी है, रॉ कॉटन है, यूज्ड व्हीकल्स है, प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लैंडिंग सर्टिफिकेट्स है. ओके, इन दिस में recipient will be liable to make the payment of taxes. Institute is going to give you one case study that this type of situation is there. In that case, who is liable to make the payment of taxes? So in that case, you need to identify that the same is covered under that section 9 subsection 3 or not, and you need to put the reference of that particular section, that as per section 9 subsection 3 of CGST Act, that is what is the provision, and in this situation we need to find out this. Okay, I'm also planning for one session for 1 hour and 30 minutes regarding the presentation techniques. Okay, in our regular batch we are also conducting that particular technique. We are also going to teach that particular techniques to the students, that how you are going to write the papers, write the answers in the question paper so that you can get the maximum marks. Okay, so there is techniques available through which you can attempt the maximum questions and you can get the maximum marks. Okay, so now, goods list has already covered. Now we are going to cover our supply list. Okay, there are total 14 supplies are there on which reverse charge mechanism is applicable. That means on the supply of all these type of 14 services, recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Okay. First one is our goods transport services. If any goods transport agency is going to provide the transportation services, in that case, recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Supplier is not liable to make the payment of taxes. Okay. Next, any services provided by the legal advisor, the advocate. Okay, in that case, recipient is liable to make the payment of certain taxes, but this is a specific provision in case of advocacy services. Okay, this is an specific situation which will applicable in case of advocacy services by an advocate. Advocate होना जरूरी है. ऐसा नहीं है कोई advocate अगर written filing की services दे रहा है उसको भी अगर हम लोग reverse charge mechanism में count करते हैं, this is not going to happen. Okay, in that case, the advocacy services provided by that advocate is to be considered for that particular purpose. Okay. नेक्स्ट, सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय एन आर्बिट्रल ट्रिब्यूनल टू एनी बिजनेस एंटिटी, जो सुलझाना करवाते हैं, जो बोलते हैं एडजस्टमेंट करवाते हैं. इफ देयर इज एनी डिस्प्यूट एनी इंडस्ट्री, इन दैट केस द पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू टेक द आर्बिट्रेरी डिसीजन, ओके, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द आर्बिट्रल ट्रिब्यूनल. एंड इफ एनी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय दैट आर्बिट्रल ट्रिब्यूनल to the business entity, in that case GST will be paid by that business entity because the reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Sponsorship services provided to any body, corporate or partnership firm, in that case जो जो स्पॉन्सर सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवा रहा है वो क्यों जीएसटी पे करेगा? In that case the business entity is liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, services supplied by central government, state government, any notification for exempt RCM applicable for goods. Exempt RCM is applicable for goods. I am not getting your point. Please elaborate the situation, or you can connect with me over WhatsApp or on call so that we can discuss that point. I am not getting your point, what you are asking. So, any services provided by the central government, state government, union territory to a business entity, excluding, मतलब कोई भी सर्विसेज अगर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और यूनियन टेरिटरी किसको प्रोवाइड करवा रही है? बिजनेस एंटिटी को प्रोवाइड करवा रही है. इन दैट केस द जीएसटी विल बी पेड बाय द रिसिपिएंट, बट इन फॉलोइंग सिचुएशन दिस प्रोविजन इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. द सिचुएशन इज दैट व्हेन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज प्रोवाइडिंग द रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, services by way of Department of Post in relation to vessel, aircraft, in all those situations GST will not be applicable on reverse charge basis. But the second point is there, whenever the immovable property is provided by that central government, state government, union territory, local authority to the business entity, in that case GST will be applicable on reverse charge mechanism. Conclusively, we can say all the services provided by the central government, state government, union territory, local authority to the business entity, in that case RCM provision is applicable. But in case of vessel and aircraft, and in case of post services provided by the central government, state government, union territory, local authority, RCM is not applicable. If there is any long-term lease by a person against consideration in the form of upfront amount, recipient is your promoter. Okay, suppose I want to start one new company, okay, and I am the promoter of that particular company, and for incorporation and for the initial stage as a promoter, if I am going to take any building, any property on lease, in that case the promoter is liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes under forward charge. Okay, so अभी तक हम लोगों ने क्या डिस्कस किया? अभी तक हम लीगल सर्विसेज वी हैड ऑलरेडी कवर्ड, जीटीए वाली सर्विसेज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट वी हैड कवर्ड, एंड लॉन्ग टर्म लीज वी हैड. ओके, ये चीज तो आपको मेमोराइज करनी पड़ेगी. Services provided by the director of a company to the body corporate or the company, if any director is going to provide any services to the company, in that case GST will be applicable. But if the director is going to provide any services in his personal capacity, in that case GST is not applicable. This is the latest notification which is announced by the GST Council in the 50th GST Council meeting. Okay, so this is not applicable for your examination. Okay, for May examination, this will be applicable. So any services provided by the director, although will plan for an amendment class also, there is no issue with that. Okay, so services supplied by a director to the company in the capacity of director, in that case GST will be paid by the company itself. If company is going to pay the sitting fees to that particular director, in that case this sitting fees is on account of the services by that director to the company, in that case reverse charge mechanism is applicable. अभी ये वाला क्वेश्चन कुछ देर पहले चैट बॉक्स में आया था, so that is what is the answer. Services by an insurance agent to any person carrying on insurance business. Okay. Suppose if I am going to take the examination, if I am going to give the examination of insurance agent for qualifying that examination, and I qualified that exam, and after that I am an insurance agent. Okay. And now I am going to provide the services to the insurance company. In that case, I am not liable to make the payment of taxes. In that case, insurance company is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. रिकवरी एजेंट होते हैं मल्टीपल बैंक्स एंड एनबीएफसी नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल कंपनीज आर गोइंग टू अपॉइंट सर्टेन रिकवरी एजेंट, वसूली भाई जिनको बोलते हैं, टू रिकवर द अमाउंट ऑफ लोन. In that case, the recovery agent is going to provide the services to bank, but in that case also the bank is liable to make the payment of taxes as a recipient under reverse charge mechanism. Copyright services by a music composer, photographer, artist, like relating to original musical artistic work, in that case also reverse charge mechanism is applicable. That means अगर कोई composer है, photographer है, वो अपनी services किसी music company को दे रहा है, किसी producer को दे रहा है, in that case producer is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That person who is providing the services is not liable to make the payment under forward charge. If there is any transfer of right, copyright covered under 1956 related to original, if any book writer is going to provide their services to the publisher, in that case GST will be applicable under reverse charge mechanism. सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज बाय द मेंबर ऑफ ओवरसीइंग कमिटी ऑफ आरबीआई. अगर आरबीआई के कमिटी मेंबर्स इज गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड द सर्विसेज टू रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, इन दैट केस द सेम शुड बी कंसीडर्ड एज अ रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म सप्लाई. इफ एनी डायरेक्ट सेलिंग एजेंट, बैंक इज गोइंग टू अपॉइंट मल्टीपल एजेंट्स टू कैप्चर द मार्केट, एंड इफ एनी डायरेक्ट सेलिंग एजेंट इज गोइंग टू provide their services to that particular bank, in that case GST will be applicable under reverse charge mechanism, not under forward charge mechanism. Okay, now service provided by a business facilitators. Banks are going to appoint multiple business facilitators to capture the market, and if that facilitator is going to provide the services to the banking company, in that case GST should be payable by that particular banking company itself. That business facilitator is not liable to make the payment of taxes under forward charge. Banking company is going to make the payment under reverse charge. Okay, services provided by an agent of business correspondent to the business correspondent. If any services provided by the business correspondent to another business correspondent in the taxable territory for getting the business, in that case the reverse charge mechanism of provision is applicable. And सिक्योरिटी सर्विसेज, अगर कोई पर्सनल सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवाता है, सिक्योरिटी पर्सनल्स, आपके आपने आर्टिकलशिप में देखा होगा जब आप ऑडिट कर रहे होंगे तो सिक्योरिटी सर्विसेज के ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म एप्लीकेबल होता है, बिकॉज द सेम इज स्पेसिफाइड अंडर सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 3. सो दिस इज द लिस्ट ऑफ 14 स्पेसिफिक सर्विसेज. सो हम लोगों ने गुड्स की बात कर ली सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 3 एंड 14 स्पेसिफिक सर्विसेज, द लीगल एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज बाय द एडवोकेट, द डायरेक्टर सर्विसेज, द सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय वेरियस पर्सन टू द बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री, इंश्योरेंस एजेंट, all these type of services are covered under the reverse charge mechanism. और गुड्स के केस में आपका कैशियो नट्स है, आपका सिल्क यार्न है, आपके जो गुड्स है वो सबके ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म एप्लीकेबल हो जाता है. दैट इज व्हाट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ योर सेक्शन नंबर 9 सबसेक्शन 3. एक बार कमेंट करके please comment in the chat box and once tell me that the concept of reverse charge mechanism is okay for you. Everything, each and everything from that reverse charge mechanism concept is clear in your mind. सर क्लियर का मतलब ये नहीं है कि दिमाग में से पूरा ही क्लियर हो गया. ओके, योर कॉन्सेप्ट इज क्लियर इन दिस रिगार्ड. नाउ, although we had discussed on this concept of interstate supply, and intrastate supply, I am again going to discuss on this concept. So, interstate supply means whenever there is a supply between two states. Okay, suppose I am in Rajasthan and I am going to provide my goods and services to Gujarat. In that case, there is transaction between two states. There is involvement of two states. In that case, the supply should be considered as your interstate supply. But if the supply is within the state, in that case, we can say that this is a intrastate supply. I am a Rajasthan and I am going to provide my services in Rajasthan itself. In that case, I am saying that I am going to supply. That supply should be considered as your intrastate supply. Now, in case of interstate supply, IGST should be charged. In case of intrastate supply, CGST and SGST should be charged. Okay. Now, क्या ऐसा हो सकता है कि आई एम इन राजस्थान एंड इन इफ आई एम गोइंग टू मेक अ सप्लाई टू राजस्थान इटसेल्फ एंड उसको हम लोग इंटरस्टेट ट्रीट करें? इज दैट पॉसिबल? I am in Rajasthan and I am going to provide the services or goods in Rajasthan itself, and the same should be considered as interstate supply. Is that possible? Yes. If someone is going to provide the services to special economic zone, services to special economic zone, in that case we can say that the same should be considered as your interstate supply. Now your question is that what do you mean by that special economic zone unit और स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन? शॉर्ट में हम लोग उसको एसईजेड बोलते हैं, स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन. स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन मींस गवर्नमेंट हैज डिसाइडेड सर्टेन एरिया एज अ इकोनॉमिकल एरिया. ओके, बिजनेस एरिया, एंड द एरिया शुड बी कॉल्ड एज योर स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन. ओके, और whenever to promote that special economic zone, whenever someone is going to provide any supply of goods or supply of services to that special economic zone, the supply should be considered as your zero rated supply. We had already done the concept of zero rated supply. Zero rated supply means the rate of GST is 0%. Okay, in case there is no GST will be charged, so the rate is 0%. That means if someone is going to make the supply to SEZ unit, then the supply should be treated as your zero rated supply. That means your interstate supply. Okay, so suppose that special economic zone is situated in Rajasthan. That special economic zone is situated in Rajasthan, and some if I am also in Rajasthan and I am going to make any supply to that special economic zone which is also in Rajasthan, in that case the same supply is to be considered as your interstate supply, not as your intrastate supply, and this is the exception of that intrastate supply. Okay, so you got the concept of special economic zone, the interstate supply and the intrastate supply. Whenever someone is going to sell or supply, I can use the word supply. Whenever someone is going to make any sales or any supply to outside India, in that case also this supply should be treated as your zero rated supply. That means on that supply there is no GST will be applicable, and we can say this is also an interstate supply. This supply is to be treated as your interstate supply. Okay, so interstate supply is okay, intrastate supply is okay, the concept of special economic zone is okay, and whenever someone is going to make any supply outside India, in that case the same should be treated as your zero rated supply, or we can say interstate supply. So now, as per section 7 of IGST Act, two different state, two different union territory, one state and one union territory के बीच में कोई भी transaction होता है, that will be treated as your interstate supply. We had done that concept. Section 8 of IGST talks about your intra-state supply, and one special exception is there regarding special economic zone, and another exception is there whenever there is a tourist. Suppose I have a business, okay, और कोई tourist मेरे पास में आया, उसने बोला कि मैं अभी जो है ये स्टेट लीव कर रहा हूँ and I have a registered place of business in Gujarat and Maharashtra and all that, and I want to bought that particular product. अब मैंने उसको सप्लाई तो कहाँ किया है, राजस्थान में किया है, ओके, आई एम गोइंग टू हैंड ओवर दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट टू दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट पर्सन इन राजस्थान इटसेल्फ, although this supply should be treated as your interstate supply. Okay, so two exceptions, one the most important, that is SEZ, another is your tourist. Okay, so that is what is the concept of your intrastate supply and your export special economic zone and tourist wala concept. Now we are going to discuss on a very important thing. कल हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था in our yesterday session. This is also my humble submission to you. Don't miss any class. Okay, we have just 7 days. Okay, don't miss any class because सारे के सारे concepts एक दूसरे से link है. If you are going to not attending any one class, in that case आगे वाले आपके concepts clear नहीं होंगे. Okay, because हमने पहले basic background clear किया, then after we are discussed about the concept of supply. Okay, then after, now we are going to discuss on certain important points regarding reverse charge mechanism and all that. उसके बाद में हम लोग प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई पे बात करेंगे, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई पे बात करेंगे, वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई पे बात करेंगे, इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट पे बात करेंगे. सो ईच एंड एवरीथिंग इज लिंक्ड विद ईच अदर. So it is my humble submission to you. You should be there in each and every class. Okay. So हमने बोला था for paying the taxes there is two scheme is available. One is regular. वो राशन कार्ड वाला एग्जांपल आपको याद आया होगा, एपीएल एंड बीपीएल, बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन एंड अबव पॉवर्टी लाइन. ओके, एंड अनदर इज योर कंपोजिशन. ऑल्दो मैं बहुत धीरे धीरे कंटेंट कवर करवा रहा हूँ बिकॉज मैक्सिमम ऑफ यू आर फर्स्ट टाइम ज्वाइनिंग. ओके, first time you are going to read the concepts and first time you are attending the classes, so I am going to manage my speed, but मैं सारी की सारी चीजें जो रेगुलर वाली तो कवर नहीं करवा सकता हूँ, बट आई विल ट्राई टू कवर द मैक्सिमम थिंग्स, और जो भी हम लोग कवर करें उसके हम लोग बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट में आपको जरूर बताऊंगा, सो दैट इट विल बी मोर यूजफुल फॉर यू. ओके, नाउ there are two schemes are available. One is regular scheme and another is consumption scheme. In that particular regular scheme, you need to, that means supplier needs to make the payment of taxes as per the specified rate on the basis of the product and services. Suppose rate will be 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. Now I am just going to take these four rates. Okay, but and in that regular scheme the taxpayer is eligible to claim the input tax credit. Okay, I am a supplier and for supplying that particular product I had bought certain particular products, and for on my buying there was certain GST charge. So in that in the regular scheme I am eligible to claim the input tax credit also. Okay, so I need to pay the taxes at a specified rate and I am eligible to claim the input tax credit. Okay, now in case of your composition scheme, C for composition, C for this is a concessional rate. Whenever institute is asking from you regarding composition scheme, you just need to start the answer with the line that as per section 10 of CGST Act, you need to take the reference of sections. Okay, so that it will be more it will give a more emphasis. Okay, और जो भी एग्जामिनर आपकी कॉपी आपकी चेक कर रहा होगा उसको ये फैक्ट पता चलेगा कि इसको सेक्शंस भी याद है, दैट मींस इसको प्रोविजंस तो अच्छे से याद है. So you need to write out that as per section 10 of CGST Act, C for composition, C for concessional. There is a concessional rate is available under GST. Concessional rate of GST will be applicable in case of composition scheme. And what is the concessional rate? So in that case, there are two type of rates are available on account of the goods. GST rate will be 1%, and on account of services, GST rate will be 6%. Okay, in case of composition scheme, on account of goods, the GST rate will be 1%, and on account of services, the GST rate will be 6%. But the composition scheme, Just wait for a single second. एक सेकंड है ना, जस्ट गिव मी 1 second. So concessional rate of tax is applicable in case of composition scheme, and in case of goods the rate of GST will be 1%, and in case of services the rate of GST will be 6% in case of composition scheme. क्या हर कोई composition scheme को adopt कर सकता है? No. This scheme is based on the turnover. If in case of goods the turnover is below 1.5 CR in previous financial year. Okay, for financial year 2022 to 2023, we need to check the turnover of financial year 2021-22. 2021-22 का turnover हमको देखना पड़ेगा. If the turnover is of previous financial is below 1.5 CR, in case of supply of goods, they can adopt for the composition scheme and pay the 1% taxation. In case of services, if the turnover is below 50 lakh rupees in the previous financial year, in that case they can go with the concessional rate scheme, that is the composition scheme. And if the turnover exceeded with the specified limit, in that case they need to exit this scheme. Okay, so now sir, इस केस में 1% टैक्स पे करना है, इस केस में 6% पे करना है, अगर मेरा टर्नओवर कम है तो क्या मैं इनपुट टैक्स रेट क्लेम कर सकता हूँ? No. In if someone is going to adopt that composition scheme, in that case that person will not be eligible to take the input tax credit, to take the benefit of input tax credit. Okay, in case of goods, 1% GST should be paid. In case of services, 6% GST should be paid. There is no input tax credit is available. And now, in case of composition scheme, मुझे क्या रेगुलर जैसे कि जैसे रिटर्न फाइल करने हैं? नो, देयर इज सर्टेन स्पेसिफिक रिटर्न्स आर अवेलेबल फॉर द composition schemes. रेगुलर में कौन कौन से रिटर्न्स एप्लीकेबल होते हैं, विल डिस्कस लेटर ऑन. वी हैव वन स्पेसिफिक चैप्टर इज देयर ऑन रिटर्न्स, बट composition के बारे में आई जस्ट वांट टू टेल द बेसिक थिंग. In case of composition scheme, you need to file your return quarterly. और रिटर्न भी क्या है, you just need to make the payment of taxes quarterly, and the name of that particular return is CMP 08. Okay, and annually, in case of composition scheme, you need to file one annual return also, that is your GSTR 4. Okay, so total two returns are applicable in case of composition scheme. So basically, the concept of composition scheme as per section 10 of CGST Act, this is a concessional rate of tax. In case of goods, the rate of GST will be 1%. In case of services, the rate of GST will be 6%. And the threshold limit for opting that composition scheme 1.5 CR in case of goods and 50 lakh rupees in case of services, and you are not eligible to claim the input tax credit. That is what is the basic fundamental of this composition scheme, and everything is mentioned in this section. Okay, in case of goods the concessional rate is 1%, in case of services 1.5. In case of services, the rate of GST is 6% and the turnover limit is 50 lakh. But there are a list of seven special category of states. On these eight states, the limit is 75 lakh only. That means जो टर्नओवर की लिमिट हमने 1.5 लाख की 1.5 सीआर की बात करी थी, फॉर दीज एट स्पेसिफिक स्टेट्स द turnover limit is 1.5 CR. 1.5 CR. Okay. For these specific 8 states, the turnover limit is 75 lakh only, or in case of all other states, the turnover limit is 1.5 CR. Okay. The rate of GST will be 0.5% under each head of CGST and SGST. Okay. And in case of services, 3% under each head, that is CGST and SGST, we had already covered. Okay. So that is what is the concept of your composition scheme. Composition scheme को आपको बिगनिंग ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर में आपको इंटीमेट करना पड़ेगा गवर्नमेंट को अप टू 31 मार्च 2023। जो भी आपका मार्च की लास्ट डेट है, 30 अप्रैल तक उसको एक्सटेंड कर सकते हो। आपको ये इंटीमेट करना पड़ेगा कि इस पीरियड के अंदर जो है वी आर गोइंग टू सेलेक्ट दैट कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम। दैट इज व्हाट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ योर कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम। सर ईच एंड एवरीथिंग इज ओके फॉर यू रिगार्डिंग दिस कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम? वंस कमेंट इन द chat box। We had covered this scheme completely whenever you are going to check the ICI module, and if you are going to buy this particular book, okay, simplified GST guide, in that case whenever when you will go through with this whole concept, you will found that we had covered each and everything with the example and with the deliberation. Okay, so composition scheme is okay for you? Okay, so we had covered the basic concept, the scheme, the concept of supply, okay, the reverse charge mechanism concept, and the composition scheme. These 4 to 5 things we had already covered in our yesterday session, in our today's session. Okay, now these 3 chapters I had already provided you the PDF file in the WhatsApp group. You can check the same. Okay, and बाकी you may buy the book. I have already shared the link with you. आज 10 बजे तक स्कीम है कि if you are going to bought that particular book by today 10 p.m. in that case you are going to get the question module, you are going to get the chart notes, you are also going to get 5 exam series, and also you will get the recording of these 7 days crash course. Okay, so and you may share this information, you may share the YouTube link of my YouTube channel with your other friends, other CA final students, so that we are going to plan multiple free webinars, free sessions for the CA final students. You can check the same on this YouTube channel. Okay, so this is the part of advertisement. Just start with the next concept. Sir, advertisement bhi nahi hai. I just want to share the information because we are going to multiple things in very near future. So I just want to share certain things with you. Okay. So next topic is our exemption. Okay. But I am not going to cover this exemption chapter at this time. Okay. We'll talk on this exemption chapter later. Okay. In our tomorrow session. Now I just want to start our discussion. I am going to skip one more chapter, place of supply. I am going to start the concept of time of supply. Okay. And we'll cover the time of supply chapter within 10 to 15 minutes. This is very easy. That is our time of supply. Okay. Now, certain relevant definitions are there. I am not going to talk on these type of definitions. Will plan one day, 1 hour for all these type of definitions, and I will cover the complete definitions. Also, when we are going to discuss on the topic, we are going to take the definitions. Okay, जैसे मेरे को स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन की definition बतानी थी, we had covered. जैसे मुझे e-commerce operator की definition बतानी थी, we had covered that particular definition also. Okay, so now सर हमने ये डिसाइड कर लिया कि on these particular type of supply of goods, on these we had already covered the activities and the transactions on which GST will be applicable. The same should be considered as your supply. Now we had decide किस टाइम हमें टैक्स का पेमेंट करना है, हमें कब टैक्स का पेमेंट करना है, व्हेन वी नीड टू पे द टैक्सेस टू द गवर्नमेंट, कि कुछ टाइम तो होना चाहिए, इस टाइम में मुझे टैक्स का पेमेंट करना है. सो गवर्नमेंट हैज डिसाइडेड वन मैकेनिज्म कि यू नीड टू पे द टैक्सेस विद दिस टाइम, एंड इफ यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस विद इन दिस स्टिपुलेटेड टाइम, इन दैट केस देयर इज अ प्रोविजन ऑफ पेनल्टी, देयर इज अ प्रोविजन ऑफ लेट फीस, देयर इज अ प्रोविजन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. ओके, सो आपको ये पता चल गया कि एक्टिविटीज एंड ट्रांजेक्शन, दिस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी और दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन इज टू बी कंसिडर्ड एज योर सप्लाई. नाउ वी नीड टू डिसाइड, नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू डिसाइड व्हाट विल बी द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. सो बेसिकली सर, बेसिकली वी आर गोइंग टू सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स and supply of services. We are going to supply of goods and supply of services. It is my humble submission to you, just keep one notebook with you. If I am going to prepare any chart and if I am going to deliberate anything, if possible, please note it down. Okay. Supply of goods में forward charge में कर सकता हूँ. I can do that supply of goods under forward charge, or I may do that good supply of goods under reverse charge. In case of services, the same is applicable. I can make the supply of services under forward charge. I can make the supply of services under reverse charge. Okay. So, जब भी मैं supply करूंगा, at that time I need to decide the time. So, in that case, in case of goods, on account of forward charge, I need to decide the time of supply. In case of reverse charge, I need to decide the supply. In case of services, at the time of forward charge, I need to decide the term supply. And at the time of reverse charge, I need to decide the time. Okay, so total four types are there, four type of supply are there, four situations are there. In those four situations, I need to decide the time of supply. We need to decide the time of supply. Now, sir, how we can decide the time of supply? So, I am first going to take your goods. Sir, आपने section तो बता ही नहीं. So, we are going to discuss on the time. So, time कौन सा? Section 12 of CGST Act. 12 is also a time. So Section 12 of CGST Act, it talks about your time of supply. Section 12 of CGST Act talks about your time of supply regarding supply of goods. Supply of services के केस में Section 13 of CGST Act will applicable. Section 12 of CGST Act will applicable in case of supply of goods. Section 13 of CGST Act will applicable in case of supply of services. Now, Section 12 in case of supply of goods. So first is our forward charge. In case of forward charge, institute is asking one question in the CA final examination, one or two question in the CA final examination on the basis of case study and on the basis of MCQs from this time of supply concept. Okay, and if you are going to discuss on this, if you are going to learn this concept, this will be very much useful while your CA final examination, in your CA final examination. So, in case of your forward charge, supply of goods, forward charge means supplier is going to make the payment of taxes. In that case, the time of supply will be your date of invoice. इनवॉइस डेट विल बी योर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. दैट मींस जो भी आपकी इनवॉइस की डेट है उस टाइम आपको टैक्स का पेमेंट करने की लायबिलिटी आपकी आ गई. दैट इज योर टाइम ऑफ. ओके, रिटर्न कब फाइल करते हैं, रिटर्न क्या करते हैं, उसके ऊपर अभी आपको दिमाग पे बिल्कुल जोर नहीं डालना है. वी विल डिस्कस ऑन दैट इन अवर लेटर सेशंस. ओके, यू जस्ट नीड टू थिंक ऑन दैट कॉन्सेप्ट जो हम लोग अभी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, जो हम लोग करंटली डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. यू जस्ट नीड टू concentrate on that particular concept. So in case of supply of goods under forward charge, the time of supply will be invoice date. When the supplier is going to make the invoices, the liability to pay the taxes has already arises. Now, in case of supply of goods under reverse charge, in case of reverse charge, recipient has to make the payment of taxes. So the time of supply will be receipt of goods. जब उसने वो goods receive कर लिया, suppose the supplier has received the goods as on the particular date, suppose 24th of July. Okay. And अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है. The time of supply in case of reverse charge mechanism, receipt of goods or payment, entry, debit. डॉक्टर जैसी राइटिंग है मेरी. So, in case of reverse charge mechanism, the time of supply will be your receipt of goods. जिस दिन आपने रिसिप्ट किया और जिस दिन आपने पेमेंट किया, the date of payment और the debit entry in the bank account, इन दोनों में से जो भी जल्दी हो, इन दोनों में से मतलब पेमेंट और डेबिट एंट्री, इन दोनों में से जो भी जल्दा हो. सपोज द डेट इज 27th July. The recipient has make the payment to that particular supplier on 27th July and 30th day from the date of issue of invoice. Suppose the invoice date is 20th July. So 30th day from that day of that issue of invoice will be your, suppose 20th August. इन तीनों में से whichever is earlier, that is 24th of July will be your time of supply. That is what is the situation. That means in case of reverse charge mechanism, the time of supply will be the date on which you receive the goods, the recipient has received the goods, or the date of payment or entry in the bank account, debit entry in the bank account, whichever is earlier. इन दोनों में से and 30 days from the date of issue of invoices, इन तीनों में से whichever will be the earlier will be treated as your time of supply. Is that okay? The concept of time of supply. In case of forward charge, invoice date will be treated as your time of supply. In case of reverse charge, receipt of goods, payment or 30 days from the issue of invoice will be treated as your time of supply. Now, sir, everything is okay. These 2 points in case of forward charge, in case of reverse charge. Now, there are certain vouchers are also available. Suppose if someone is going to buy a certain product in Reliance, or if you are going to bought certain product from Meesho and online mode, in that case you are getting certain vouchers that on your next purchase you will get this thing. On your next purchase you will get 500 off. On your next purchase you will got this thing. Okay, there are certain lalach is there. Okay, you are getting something on your next time purchase. You are getting certain vouchers. In that case, what will be the time of supply for those vouchers? So, at the time of the supply, if the redemption is identifiable, the voucher is identifiable. That means you know that on a future date you will get this particular thing. Suppose I am going to Reliance and Reliance is going to me a voucher and saying that, sir, when you are coming to our shop on next time, you will get a discount of 500 rupees. That means the voucher is identifiable at the time of supply. Hence, the time of supply will be the date of the time of the date of इनवॉइस और द डेट ऑफ वाउचर जिस दिन आपने वो डेट रिसीव किया, दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज योर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. ओके, नाउ इफ द वाउचर इज नॉट आइडेंटिफिएबल, आपको नहीं पता है कि आपको क्या मिलेगा, वो ये बोल रहे हैं दिस इज द वाउचर, व्हेन यू विल कम टू द नेक्स्ट टाइम, इन दैट केस विल रिडीम दिस वाउचर. Okay, will provide you certain gifts, you will get certain gifts, but the voucher is not identifiable. You have no idea that what you are going to get on your next purchase. So in that case, the time of supply will be your redemption date of redemption. The date of redemption will be your time of supply. So vouchers is okay. In case of supply of goods is okay. In case of supply of services is okay. Now, if there is any addition, if there is any addition, suppose I am going to take an example. मैंने कोई गुड सेल किया मिस्टर एक्स को. ओके। एंड मिस्टर एक्स ने बोला था आई एम गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट विद इन 30 डेज। तो मैंने उसको बोला था इफ यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट विद इन 30 डेज, इन दैट केस आई एम गोइंग टू चार्ज इंटरेस्ट ऑन दैट अमाउंट। ओके, सो सपोज द वैल्यू वाज 1 लाख रुपीज एंड मिस्टर एक्स हैज नॉट मेक द पेमेंट टू मी विद इन 30 डेज, तो मैंने यहाँ पर इंटरेस्ट इम्पोज कर दिया ऑन दैट 1 लाख रुपीज 10,000 रुपीज। So, in that case, at the time of making the supply, there was no interest. Now the interest is there. In that case, if there is any addition, in that case, the date of addition will be the time of supply. जिस दिन मैं उसके ऊपर ये interest impose कर दूंगा, the date will be treated as my time of supply. Is that okay? So, these four situations are there regarding the concept of forward charge, supply of goods, supply of services, regarding the vouchers, and regarding the addition. Okay. One journal principle is also there. One journal principle is also there, and as per that journal principle, the return filing date, अगर आप ऊपर वाले किसी भी तरीके से नहीं डिसाइड कर पा रहे हो, देन योर रिटर्न फाइलिंग डेट विल बी योर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, और द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स, जब आप पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स करते हो, दैट विल बी योर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई। ओके, इफ द रिटर्न फाइलिंग इज अवेलेबल, इन दैट केस रिटर्न फाइलिंग डेट और पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स की डेट, ये दोनों डेट भी आपकी टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई कहलाएगी। सो time of supply in case of goods under forward charge will be the date of issue of invoices. Okay, under reverse charge mechanism, under reverse charge mechanism, the time of supply will be the date of receipt of the goods, payment recorded in the books of accounts, and debit from the bank, or 30 days from the date of issue of invoices, whichever is earlier will be your time of supply. In case of vouchers, if voucher ki date of voucher, if the voucher is identifiable, and date of redemption. Time of supply in residual cases, due date of filing of the periodical return, and in any other case, date on which GST is paid. If there is any addition on account of interest, late fees, and delayed, in that case, the date of such addition will be treated as your time of supply. These 5 points are there, and we had covered everything. जब आप लोग इसको जाकर के पढ़ोगे, when you are going to read these notes or these chapters from study material from my book or from wherever, you will find that you have done each and everything. आपके concepts clear है. Okay, so addition please explain. Okay, सर जब कोई सप्लायर गुड्स की सप्लाई करता है ना, when the supplier is going to make any supply of a particular goods to the buyer, in that case supplier बोलता है कि buyer you need to make the payment to me within this specified time, and if you are not going to make the payment of taxes within the time, in that case I am going to charge interest on that particular supply. Suppose supplier ने उस समय वो प्राइस 1 लाख रुपीस रखी एंड रेट ऑफ जीएसटी वाज 18%, सो सप्लायर ने क्या किया, उस टाइम उस 1 लाख रुपीस पे 18% जीएसटी लगाया एंड गवर्नमेंट को पे कर दिया, but the buyer has not made the payment within the given time, इसलिए supplier told that sir I am going to add 10,000 rupees as interest. Now 10,000 rupees is also recovered by that particular supplier from that buyer on account of interest. In that case, supplier has already paid the taxes of 1 lakh rupees. Now we just need to pay the taxes on that 10,000 rupees, that is the addition. So we can say जिस दिन ये addition हुआ, suppose after 30th day, on 35th day I am going to charge that particular interest of 10,000 rupees. In that case, on that 35th day, the same should be treated as your time of supply. जिस दिन मैंने उसको add किया, that date will be treated as your time of supply. Is that okay, Rajmani ji? Just comment me. Concept is okay. Okay. Now, time of supply of services, goods वाला concept हो गया. Now we are going to discuss the concept of time of supply of services. I am just going to take your more 5 minutes. So be there. टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज इन केस ऑफ फॉरवर्ड चार्ज, जैसा हमने गुड्स के केस में देखा था. इन केस ऑफ फॉरवर्ड चार्ज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी, this is my one more request is that you just need to take the ICI module or you can take the other modules which is available with you, okay, and try to solve the questions regarding the time of supply. Okay, if you found any issue while doing this exercise, you can connect with me over WhatsApp. There is no issue with that. I'm available for you. Okay, so do the practical questions also, although practical questions are not possible for me in the crash course, but you may connect with me over WhatsApp. Will solve you your query. Okay, there is no problem with that. And for all those first timers जो first time crash course कर रहे हैं, if you are finding any type of issue, then you may join our regular batch. Regular batch will be starting from 7th of August most probably. So if you want any information regarding that, you can connect with me over WhatsApp. There is no issue with that. And also if you are going to cover the things from crash course, then you can go. But for completing all those things, for doing all those things, this is not possible for me to do the things in the crash course itself. Okay, so because it will take around 40 to 45 days to complete the regular course. Okay, we are going to cover the question papers, we are going to cover the various concepts, the basic concepts, so till the advanced level. Okay, so I will try my best to cover the things in this crash course itself, the maximum things I will try. Now, in case of forward charge, on account of services, the time of supply will be the date of invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. दोनों में से जो भी earlier हो जाए, INP, invoice or payment, whichever is earlier will be your time of supply in case of forward charge. Okay, in case of forward charge, the time of supply will be invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. Now, what will be the provision in case of reverse charge? So the time of supply will be, you can read the same 60 days. In case of forward charge, the time of supply is your date of invoice or date of receipt payment, whichever is earlier. Okay. Now, on account of reverse charge mechanism, the date of payment, here is the date of payment. यहीं से हम लोग डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. The date of payment and the date immediately following 60 days from the issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. Date of payment and 60 days from the issue of invoices, whichever is earlier. अब now in case of forward charge हमने ये बोला invoice or payment whichever is earlier means if I am going to provide any services and I am getting any advances from my buyer, in that case from my recipient, in that case I need to pay the taxes on advances also. But in case of goods, the time of supply will be the date of invoice. That means there was no applicability of GST on account of the advances in case of goods. But on services, if someone is getting the advances on account of services, in that case GST will be applicable on those services, but GST will not be applicable in case of goods on advances. Okay, and for the vouchers, the same concept is there. If the voucher is identifiable, in that case, the date of voucher. In that case, the voucher is not identifiable. In that case, your date of redemption of the voucher. And in case of residual cases, periodical return and GST payment. And if there is addition, in that case, the date of addition will be treated as your time of supply. That is what is the concept of your section number 12 of CGST Act and section number 13 of CGST Act regarding time of supply. Section number 12 was applicable in case of your time of supply on account of goods. उसके अंदर हमने फॉरवर्ड चार्ज डिस्कस किया, रिवर्स चार्ज, वाउचर्स डिस्कस किया, एडिशन डिस्कस किया एंड एडिशनल रेसिडुअल केस डिस्कस किया. Section number 13 of CGST Act talks about the supply of services के केस में what would be the time of supply and we had covered the same. How we are going to memorize the section? So time and 12. So section 12 of CGST Act talks about the time of supply and section 10 composition scheme, concessional scheme, this talks about your composition and concessional scheme. So in our today's session, we had covered the concept of supply, the schedule number 2 and 3 we had covered. After that, we had started our discussion on the composite and mixed supply, section 8 of CGST Act. For your composite supply, one is your principal supply, another is your ancillary supply, and for your mixed supply, both supply are bundled, but they are not naturally bundled. In case of composite supply, two supplies are there and both are naturally bundled. Okay. In case of composite supply, principal supply ki rate will be applicable. In case of mixed supply, highest rate of GST will be applicable. After that, we had started our concept on account of your reverse charge mechanism, section 9 subsection 3, section 9 subsection 4. Section 9 subsection 5 is especially applicable in case of e-commerce operator intra-state supply. Section 9 subsection 4 is not applicable currently. Section 9 subsection 3 has certain goods and certain services. 14 services are there. Your GTA services, legal advisor services, various persons are going to provide the services to the banks. Okay, central government, state government value services, all those things we had covered. After that, we had started our discussion on the scheme, that is composition scheme, concessional rate of taxes 1% in case of goods and services के केस में 6%. गुड्स के केस में द टर्नओवर लिमिट was 1.5 CR. On account of services, the turnover limit is 50 lakh rupees. 8 specific states are there on which the limit is 75 lakh rupees only. The rate of GST is 1 and 6%, and you are not eligible to claim the input tax credit. Okay. After that, we had started our discussion on the time of supply, section number 12 and section number 13. That is what is the whole concept we had discussed. And in our yesterday session, we had discussed the basic concept, the constitutional background, and the basic concept of supply, that is section 7 subsection 1. Supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental. Okay, in the course or furtherance of business for a consideration. Sir, everything is okay for you. I am going to sign off for today's session. We'll meet on tomorrow. Okay. If you want to buy the book, then the book is available till 10 p.m. 10 बजे तक आप उस book को buy कर सकते हो with all these features. Okay. So this is information from my side. Also, you may subscribe the YouTube channel, and you may share this YouTube channel with your friends. And if you have any question, main point is that if you have any question regarding our yesterday session and regarding our today's session, you can connect with me over WhatsApp. You just need to do one thing. You just need to post one message on my WhatsApp number in the WhatsApp group or on my personal number. I will share you the reply within the given time, or I may take the query in the beginning of our tomorrow's session. Okay. So for today, I am going to sign off. If you have any query, if you have any doubt, if you have any question, you can raise the questions. Okay. Also, I just want that you should like this video, यार. आप लोग लाइव क्रैश कोर्स अटेंड कर रहे हो, कम से कम लाइक तो करो इस वीडियो को. So, thank you. If you have any question, you can raise the same in the chat box. And one more request is there. You just need to provide your feedbacks in the WhatsApp group so that जो others live नहीं देख रहे हैं, जो recorded में आना चाहते हैं, they will come in live itself. Okay. And for today, for tomorrow, that is tomorrow is Sunday, so we'll plan that tomorrow is session or not. We'll plan in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Okay, so I'm waiting for your feedbacks for the today's session in the WhatsApp group. So just your feedbacks, your valuable feedbacks in the WhatsApp group so that we can connect. Okay, thank you for today and good night. Bye bye.